Hello, everyone. We hope that you can hear us. We've been having some technical difficulties, so we're getting started a couple minutes late, but we'll go ahead and get started now. I hope that everyone is having a good day and can see our screen. So, just to test some things out, I'm going to triple check that we have our technology working because we want to make sure that everyone is getting the best use of their time here and is able to access the wellness workshop. Okay, awesome. So it is looking like the video is working. So I'm super glad to hear that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, pardon our technical difficulties, but welcome to the CAPS Emotional Intelligence Wellness Workshop hosted through YouTube Live. And I know that there was some difficulties getting started here today, but if that's something that you don't want to deal with future workshops, we do have in-person wellness workshops as well, which you can find out more about by going to our website or the CAPS social media pages at CSUF CAPS. And we post about when and where those will be as well. Alongside emotional intelligence workshops, we also have stress, thought, mood, sleep, academic, and just some really great information in those workshops as well. And to preface, this workshop is not therapy, meaning that we can't guarantee confidentiality. However, we can and will promote privacy, meaning that what is shared here will stay here so far as the two of us go. So let's go ahead and get started with some introductions. My name is Nick, and I am one of the graduate mental wellness peer educators here at CAPS.
And hello, everyone. My name is Chad, and I'm also one of the graduate mental wellness peer educators here as well.
So let's go ahead and get started. First, with some learning objectives today. I'll let Chad go ahead and go over some of these.
All right, and as we get started, these are our learning objectives today. So ideally, we're going to be learning about emotional intelligence, gaining tools to develop your own emotional intelligence, and practicing utilizing tools to develop emotional intelligence.
That should fit the screen a bit better. I tried adjusting it.
That's good to me.
So we ask for you all to engage with the prompt. When you think about emotional intelligence, what comes to mind? I'll go ahead and answer myself. When I think of emotional intelligence, it comes to mind understanding not only myself, but also my friends and the people that I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that definition, just kind of being able to understand yourself and the people around you.
Agreed. So now let's go over learning more about emotional intelligence. So our first objective in this workshop.
So, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions as well as understand the emotions of others. And with this, we are going to watch a short video on developing emotional intelligence. Ideally, what we'll have you all do is try to take away something that you like from this video.
So thank you for watching that video, everybody. As Chad mentioned earlier, I hope that you all kept something in mind and there was something that you took away from that video. But if you would like, then I ask that you go ahead and scan this QR code here. Since there is no one currently here in real time, we are going to transition past this. However, if you would like, please pause here and scan this QR code, as it is a great opportunity to learn more about where your emotional intelligence is currently and how you can begin the process of developing it even more. So now let's go over the emotional intelligence elements that we'll be covering in this workshop. Each of these elements are going to get their individual slides, so I won't summarize them here, but we will go over them in future slides. So first, we're going to cover self-awareness, then touch on self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and finally social skills. And we're going to tie all of these back into emotional intelligence and how we can utilize these elements to develop it in different areas.
So first, we're going to be going over gaining tools to develop your emotional intelligence. And so with that, let's discuss self-awareness and self-regulation. So self-awareness is the ability to understand and identify your emotions and how you are impacting others, while self-regulation is the ability to manage your behaviors and your emotions. So the main takeaway that we'd like to kind of gather from this slide is getting in touch with our emotions is pivotal with developing emotional intelligence.
So now let's discuss feelings, because when we talk about emotional intelligence, feelings might be one of the first things that come to mind. And that's good because feelings are really important, and it's important to acknowledge them as well. However, it's also pivotal to remember that feelings are not facts, meaning that the way we feel does not make up who we are. Feelings are like spices to a dish. They don't make the whole dish, but they're definitely an important part of it. And feelings can motivate us and organize us for action, meaning that they can really drive us to accomplish things pretty often. Also, it's important to remember that there's pleasant and unpleasant feelings, but they're equally as important. So sometimes there can be the language around feelings that there may be positive ones or negative ones, but really there's no such thing as a positive or negative emotion, just pleasant and unpleasant ones, because they're really equally as important to allow yourself to feel them. Especially because unpleasant feelings were designed to protect us. So it's important to sit with those and recognize them when they come up for you. And science reveals that feelings tend to only last between 60 to 90 seconds. So about a minute and a half if you really allow yourself to experience that emotion. And pleasant feelings exist for connection and creativity, which is really important when connecting with others. And unfortunately, if we selectively numb emotions that we don't want to experience, like unpleasant ones maybe, then we can unintentionally numb all of our emotions. So it's important to recognize the possible negative effects of numbing all emotions. So let's sit with what we're experiencing right now, both in terms of how we're feeling emotionally and how we're feeling physically. So this is a little activity right here. If you are in the live right now, then please feel free to join and participate in this activity. However, if you are watching this later, then please feel free to do this in your own space, and we'll go ahead and participate as well. So I'd say right now I am feeling good. I feel good, but also a bit fluttery. And I'd say I feel a bit fluttery because I was nervous getting this live set up because there's, again, some technical difficulties, but I feel good because we were able to figure it out.
Thank you for that, Nick. Yeah, I would say for me personally, I feel pretty grateful right now. I'm grateful to be here with you all and to be able to participate in this presentation today. But I'm also a bit fluttery. I think pretty nerve-wracking just to have like one of my first times doing this presentation.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for sharing that as well. And I hope that everyone at home or wherever you are right now was able to connect with this activity.
Excuse me. And now we're going to discuss additional strategies to manage behaviors and emotions. So the idea here is just to look at these here. We have mindfulness, grounding, progressive muscle relaxation, journaling, reframing cognitive distortions, reframing negative talk, and learning to self-soothe.
Thank you for those tools. There's some really great information here, and in future slides, we'll talk about a website that is really beneficial for looking more into certain ones of these tools if it's something you're interested in.
And now let's go over motivation. So motivation is the ability to identify your drive and to develop, achieve, persist, and utilize resiliency and optimism, and to take initiative. So the takeaway that we'd like to gather from this is considering how to develop motivation. It's pivotal in developing emotional intelligence as well.
So now we ask you, what is your why? So this can be your why in your developing emotional intelligence, as well as your why in what brings you motivation overall. And we're going to ask you 4 questions to find your purpose. Starting with, what makes you come alive? To exemplify this question, I will be reading a quote by H. Thurman, as you can see on the screen, that says, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And for me, what it means to be alive is something that I'm passionate about and something that really motivates me. And when I think about that, I think about future careers and future family and future friend plans. But it's also important to ask yourselves, what are you passionate about? And what do you care deeply about? Is it something bigger than yourself? You can also ask yourself, what puts a fire in your heart or in your belly? And what constantly intrigues you or captures your attention? So let's keep thinking in this direction as we transition to the next questions.
And the next question we'd like to ask is, what are your innate or natural strengths? So on this picture here, we have just some examples of some positive traits that you may align with. For me, I know I align with kindness, efficiency, being loyal and focused. But you all might identify with other traits, and that's beautiful. So here are some things that we'd like to have you consider. So when are you in your element? When do you feel most like you're in the zone? What things have you always been good at? What do you do differently from everyone else? And what do others ask you to do? What comes easier to you than to others? And where do you find yourself jumping in to help others? Where do you see patterns and opportunities? And are you creative? Or are you out of the box with solutions? Are you good at executing projects or a gifted communicator? Are you good with technology or a diplomat, a networker, leader, problem solver, or a change agent? Or a mixture of all of the above? There's a lot of ways that you can take this. The next question we'd also like you to ponder on is, where do you feel you add the greatest value? With this, we have a quote as well. Knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. So what problems do you enjoy solving? And what problems are you passionate about trying to solve? And then also, what education, skills, and knowledge and expertise do you bring to the table?
Thank you so much for that. Now let's go ahead and transition into our final question, which is, how will you measure your life? I know that can sound like a pretty big question, and a really loaded question as well, because it's a lot of forward thinking, but it's important to ask ourselves that because it's a part of the process of life and it's something important to consider. So, when asking how you measure your life, you can consider, what do you stand for? How do you align your life with that stance? You can ask yourself what matters the most to you, and also assess if you're more intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. It's also important to consider what legacy you would like to leave behind, both with family and friends, but also in your workplace as well and in your career. Also, assessing what assumptions that you have that are dictating the decisions that you make, and if those might contain some limiting beliefs as well. And also asking, is this your path to happiness? Either the path that you're currently on or the path that you wish to take in the future. You can ask what roles are most important to you as well. For example, a role that's important to me is being a brother and an older cousin. I see those as really present roles in my life and ones I'm really proud about. And what type of person do you want to be? And also, it's important to remember that no matter what we do, we can draw meaning from it and find greater purpose in how we do it. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and continue.
We'd also like to go over empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and recognize another's feelings. It's also the ability to recognize their emotional state and their point of view. So the takeaway we'd like to get from this is considering how to develop empathy and how that is pivotal to developing emotional intelligence.
Thank you. So now we're going to go over developing empathy tips. It appears the lights turned off on us, but hopefully you can still see us. We are going to go ahead and go over these developing empathy tips. I'll go ahead and cover the first two, and then Chad will transition into the second two, and we'll talk about the importance of each. So the first tip is to develop listening skills. It's really important to use open-ended questions when having conversations with others, as well as utilizing curiosity in those conversations and engaging in active listening. It's also really important to learn how to read body language, such as with eye contact, vocal variation, facial expressions, gestures, one's posture, and overall nonverbal communication skills. I would like to address that active listening and being able to read body language is really different from person to person. Some people have really innate skills here, while others may struggle with developing these skills. And it's okay because nobody starts at the same baseline. And so long as the effort is being made there, then everyone can begin to develop that in a way that works for them.
Yeah, wonderfully said. And the other two that we'd like to discuss are utilizing vulnerability. So that would involve sharing about weaknesses and opportunities for growth, as well as sharing your needs and understanding that no one is perfect, including yourself. We'd also like you to consider new perspectives, which would allow you to provide space for other ideas other than your own and explore fiction. Also, be open to questioning your own ideas.
Thank you so much.
And finally, we will be going over practicing utilizing tools to develop emotional intelligence.
So now we transition to the final skill, as Chad had stated previously, which is social skills. So this is the ability to develop skills to interact with others competently and appropriately within a social context. So this skill encompasses many of the other elements that we discussed previously, as well as building upon them and noticing how they interact with one another as well. So we're considering various elements that we have already explored. Now we're going to do a little emotional intelligence name game. So Again, I have not seen any notifications in the chat just yet. However, if anyone would like to share their response for this game, then that is fully welcome and appreciated. But we're just going to go over how it works, and then we'll each share for our name and then just continue on from there. So how this works is you will get your name and the name of a person who has influenced your life, and then feature an adjective that describes one of their positive traits for each letter of their name. So, for example, my name is Nick. So I would say that I am nice, intelligent, cool, and kind.
Awesome. And I am Chad. For mine, I would pick that I am clever. I'm helpful. I'm also assertive to a degree, I would believe. And then I'm also dependable.
Awesome. So I hope that this was a good opportunity for you to see how this name game works. And it's just a fun thing that you can go ahead and do in your personal time or when you're with others. It's a really good way to practice gratitude for both yourself and others in our lives.
We'd also like to remind you all to be kind to yourself and to practice self-compassion. So instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for various inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means that you are kind and understanding when confronted with personal failings. And that is a quote from Christian Neff in 2024. If you'd like to learn more about this, please do visit the selfcompassion.org website for more information. And then we also have our CAPS information here. We are located on Titan Hall's first floor. If you'd like to visit our website, we have a QR code for y'all. Just go ahead and scan that. And then on the left here, we have a bunch of our different resources as well as other things that we do. So we have our wellness room, our wellness workshops, as well as drop-in groups and therapy groups. And then we will go over more of these on the next slide as well.
There is one thing that I'm noticing here. It appears to be a typo. If you are taking the phone number on screen here, our phone number is actually 657-278-3040. Apologies for that typo, where it says 627.
Very good catch, yes.
So to go over our stepladder of care, we have all the way down in the blue, our web-based services. Then we have our non-appointment-based services in the green, our more commitment-based services with appointments in the yellow, and our crisis-based services in the red. We will discuss U.Fullerton, Compass.Fullerton, and the CAPS website and social media in the upcoming slides. However, when it comes to doggy therapy and the other non-appointment-based services, those are ones that we would really love to touch on. If you are interested in drop-in groups and wellness workshops that are in person, then we highly recommend looking into our social media so you can find out about when and where those are, or you can always go ahead and check the CAPS website. When it comes to things like doggy therapy, that's something that you can really only find out about through the CAPS social media, which we will have more information about at the end of the workshop. And we do also have some other really great resources like therapy groups, case management, and off-campus referrals and one-on-one wellness coaching as well. So when it comes to appointment-based services, we do have individual short-term therapy. We have psychiatry services as well. We do also provide single session therapy and massage therapy, however, by referral only. And when it comes to our crisis-based services, we do have our CAPS mobile crisis unit and our 24-hour crisis support hotline. So that same phone number that we mentioned earlier does double as a crisis hotline. So now we're going to have another final opportunity to do a parent share. Again, there's no one presently in the chat, so we're going to go over this individually, and hopefully you all can gather something from that as well. So as we stated throughout this, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions as well as understand the emotions of others. So what is your favorite takeaway, and how will you apply this takeaway to your life? Personally, I really enjoyed the video. I love the animation, and it helped me understand emotional intelligence in simpler terms so I could better explain it to others.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that too. I think for me, my favorite takeaway was just the notion of, negative and positive emotions being more aligned with pleasant and unpleasant.
Yeah. Great reframe. So, unfortunately, I did mention earlier that we would touch on U. Fullerton and Compass a little more. However, it appears that those slides are not present here. So I'll just go back just to do the due diligence for them. So U. Fullerton is also known as CSUF Google. Through there, you can access a plethora of different articles that are catered to you based off survey questions, where you are provided with relevant articles. And Compass.Fullerton is a really great resource that gets students in touch with resources both on and off campus. So Compass can provide students with not only mental health services, but also services for things like maybe food insecurity or housing insecurity, and a plethora of other resources as well. So if that's relevant for yourself or a peer perhaps, it's some really great information through there. And finally, we would like to thank you for attending and ask that you scan this QR code here for an anonymous evaluation of how we did today. And finally, if you would like to follow us on Instagram at CSUF CAPS, once again, we post about our future wellness workshops, drop-in groups, and doggy therapy there, as well as just some super fun and also informational posts. So if that interests you, then please feel free to follow us.
Yes, thank you so much for attending. Like Nick said, please feel free to follow us on our Instagram, especially for that doggy therapy.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you all for attending today and bearing with our technical difficulties at the start.